Monkey D. Luffy is the kind of character who makes clinicians pause for a second and maybe secure their furniture. He's relentlessly energetic, pathologically fearless, deeply impulsive, and so committed to acting first that thought sometimes seems to arrive several minutes after the behavior. The clinical puzzle is not whether he's unusual or not. That part's settled well before the opening theme finishes. The question is what kind of psychological pattern best explains someone who charges at warlords, governments, sea monsters, and occasionally basic common sense with the same bright smile. Canonically, Luffy is driven by one central goal to find the One Piece and become king of the pirates. And he is divined by his optimism, rubber like body, and refusal to back down. A bipolar spectrum explanation is one of the first possibilities that people might raise because Luffy is high energy, grand in ambition, sleeps very little when motivated, and has no natural allergy to risk itself. However, that formulation starts to wobble once you look at the pattern more carefully. Mania is episodic, and Luffy does not really present as someone who shifts into and out of an elevated state and then crashes out of it. He looks more like someone whose baseline operating system was installed by fireworks. His mood is stable in its own unusual way. His identity is consistent, and his judgment, while reckless, is not organized around expansive delusions or a decreased need for sleep in the clinical sense. He is not cycling. He's just Luffy, which may be more dangerous for nearby buildings, but diagnostically it matters. Antisocial personality disorder might also come up because he breaks laws consistently, ignores authority, trespasses with athletic commitment, and solves many problems by punching them hard enough to become educational. But that fit falls apart. Once you examine motive and empathy, Luffy is not callous, exploitative, or emotionally detached. He does not manipulate people for personal advantage, and he's often willing to suffer enormously to protect others, actually, especially friends and vulnerable strangers. He violates rules, yes, but mostly because rules have not impressed him so far. That is rebelliousness, not predation. He's a pirate in the legal sense, yes, but psychologically he's closer to an unusually benevolent missile. Another possibility is trauma-based or attachment-based formulation, especially given how intensely he bonds, how fiercely he reacts to loss, and how absolute his loyalty becomes once someone matters to him. That line of thought has some merit, particularly because his relationships clearly shape his identity and decision making. Even so, trauma does not seem to be the primary engine of the presentation. The more visible pattern is chronic impulsivity, stimulation seeking, poor inhibitory control, and a tendency to move directly from desire to action with very little mediation. Luffy does not merely enjoy excitement. Essentially, he seems built around the pursuit of it. He treats danger the way most people treat a hallway. It simply is the thing between them and where they want to go. The strongest fit is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, predominantly hyperactive or impulsive presentation. The best evidence is his persistent impulsivity, excessive activity level, difficulty slowing down, chronic sensation seeking, impatientness, interpretive style, and repeated tendency to act before evaluating consequences. He is also distractible in conventional settings, easily bored by details, and highly responsive to whatever is immediate, emotionally salient, or interesting in the moment. At the same time, he can show intense goal directed focus when something matters deeply to him, uh, like the One Piece, which is very compatible with ADHD actually, and often misunderstood by people who assume attention problems mean an inability to focus on anything at all. Luffy can focus, he just seems to outsource that privilege to passion. What makes ADHD fit better than the alternatives is the consistency across environments and over time. This is not a temporary mood state, not a calculated antisocial style, and not merely eccentric heroism. It's a durable pattern of overactivation and impulse driven behavior that just happens to function surprisingly well in a pirate adventure narrative. In another setting, he would probably be the student who forgets instructions, blurts out answers, climbs something unnecessary, and somehow still inspires fierce loyalty from half of the room. In One Piece, that same pattern becomes leadership with a straw hat. The setting is doing him a lot of favors. It's hard to pathologize charging into chaos when the genre keeps rewarding it with victory music. Of course, Luffy is also a stylized shonen protagonist, so exaggeration is part of the architecture. Nobody in a clinical, realistic drama stretches across a battlefield, eats like a small natural disaster, and then recruits a skeleton musician on the basis that it seems reasonable. Still, if we treat the character like a case formulation, ADHD is the cleanest explanation. The differential gets narrower the longer you watch him. Under the appetite, chaos, optimism, and fearless spontaneity, the pattern stays remarkably stable. So, the strongest diagnosis for Monkey D. Luffy is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, predominantly hyperactivity and impulsive presentation.